Good evening, Mayor and Council. With the recent increase in applications for secondhand pawn dealers, it came to the city's attention that the current pawn secondhand ordinance was somewhat outdated, and revisions would help both the police department and pawn secondhand dealers' licenses in areas of record keeping, reporting, and regulatory compliance, with our overarching resolution to identify stolen property and return it to its rightful owner. The police department sought the assistance of legal to revise the business regulations in Title IX pertaining to secondhand dealers and pawnbrokers. With the recommendations of the city clerk, the revised ordinance now in front of you addresses the following deficiencies that we found. First, the language was added to identify who the licensee would be if the business is a retail outlet or chain store. The current wording is more specific to an independent business. The new definition under licensee identifies who the responsible person is who needs to apply and be licensed. Second, a definition of secondhand property has been added to clarify which property this ordinance would apply to, and businesses which take in, trade, or hold described property now understand they are required to have a secondhand pawn license. Third, with new technology evolving toward electronic record entry and storage, the city wanted to update Section 4.5 of records to be kept. Instead of requiring a written book for record keeping, the revised ordinance allows the police chief to use discretion on which record method would be the most cost-effective with the minimum of restrictions on the business as long as the required information is documented for review. Fourth, the non-exempt personal property or secondhand property list in 4.5 was expanded to include new technology not manufactured 10 years ago and to remove items no longer produced or marketable. Fifth, the police department also wants to provide pawn shops and secondhand dealers the option of using automated methods on sending in sales receipts. Those who hold licenses can send in sales reports either by paper receipts or pawn slips like they currently do, or expand now to electronic reports using a software database, or use an approved web-based storing service which uploads required information into a format accessible to the police. And lastly, additional exemptions were added to Section 4-12 that now exclude activities which have no vested regulatory interest to the city, that are not associated with known criminal enterprise activities or associations. There's other minor revisions, housekeeping made for clarity, conception, and current practices. And also what was brought up during the administrative committee meeting was that since council approval is not part of the current ordinance as it's written now, or the draft ordinance, staff is seeking your direction on not requiring each application to come before you as before, and for it to be handled administrative like the other licenses such as daycare, taxi, and solicitors.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. So, Dan, the administrative committee talked about this, and I presume talked about the issue of having the applications managed administratively.
We did. We agreed, Tim and I, that it would be easier for the applicants if it was handled administratively. I did have one question that popped up, while I was thinking about it today, looking through in the marked up version, page 6 of 7, the old 4-13 and the violations, and maybe Randy could clarify it as well. Purchase of stolen merchandise with knowledge that it is stolen or violation of any provision of this chapter shall be unlawful. I'm assuming that was stricken because that's understood.
Correct.
I mean, basically, you do something wrong, it's illegal.
Yes, it doesn't need to be listed here because this is an infraction. We took it out because it would either be a felony or misdemeanor based on the value.
But other than that, we thought we'd bring it to council for discussion as far as the administrative idea. But just as it sits, we were recommended its approval.
Okay. Randy, was there anything you wanted to add to that? Dan mentioned your name. But.
No, I appreciate my name being mentioned, though.
Okay, very good.
Not taken in vain this time.
Chief, I assume you're prepared to stand for questions. So,
yes.
Council members have any questions for the chief before we
I'm in
start
approval of it, although I'm hurt that my electric typewriter has been removed.
Sorry.
Okay.
Nobody would want to steal it.
So this isn't a public hearing, but if anybody in the audience has come wanting to talk about this, I'd certainly invite your questions or comments too. Okay. Good. So, turn it over to you. Dan, how would you like to proceed?
Well, seeing that, and technology is not working with me at the moment, but I would move the approval of this.
Try
Thank
the
you.
old way.
Do the old way.
The Luddite way.
My computer's under the table.
I would move that we approve the draft ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and provide that it be read by title and published by summary.
Okay, we have Dan's motion and Tom's second. Any discussion of this before voting? Tim?
Thank you. Do we need to make mention in the in this that it become an administrative process instead of before council for approval
It's like
of licenses?
Gary has a comment about that.
No, it's only a matter of custom that it's come to the council. It should have been handled administratively all these years with any appeals from a decision of the police chief coming to the council for appeal. So we have other licenses, a lot of other licenses that are issued, and they're done administratively. If people are denied a license or think they've been treated unfairly, they appeal to the council. So this would fall in that same category.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Tim, the only thing that I would ask, and I was going to do so just because of the tradition of having it come through council, would be subsequent to the vote on the ordinance itself, is to have the council just clearly articulate its intent that this should or should not be dealt with administratively.
You want to
Okay.
start with me?
Well, we're going to vote. The motion pertains to the ordinance and its approval. Is there any other discussion before voting? Okay, and hearing none, we'll start the roll call vote with you.
Thank you. Aye.
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 Okay, that motion carries, and so this is ordinance number 2011-05, an ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the State of Idaho, providing for the amendment of Moscow City Code Title 9, Chapter 4, providing for changes in definitions within the chapter, clarifying personal property and second-hand property included and excluded from regulation by the chapter, allowing electronic filing of information required by the chapter if approved by the Chief of Police, clarifying transactional exemptions from licensure, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Okay, so Tim, if you'd like to put forward articulating the council's intent as a motion, or that'd be fine.
I think that we can break with tradition, the tradition being that these licenses for pawn shop and pawnbrokers have come before the council for approval. I think that's no longer necessary, and I think we can break from that tradition, and that's my position.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Well,
so that was the motion.
I'm hearing that as a
I'll
motion.
move
Okay.
all of the above.
That's a motion, and Tom?
And I second
And
it.
that's a second.
I sure said.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, then we'll start a roll call vote with Sue.
Aye.
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 That motion carries too. Thank you.